Hello and welcome to a brand new season of ET Now Hangouts with me, Ankita Saxena. Well, in this season, we get you the best from the startup ecosystem, where startup founders will talk about their journey, how they are building their brand, and their growth plans ahead. We also have investors and venture capitalists talk about the investment ecosystem, the hottest startup verticals, how can founders make better pitches, and what they look for in a startup before investing. And today I have a very special guest, the founder of Two Brother Organics, which was founded in 2014. Two Brother Organic Farm is a family-run regenerative organic farm and a D2C brand. With a 100% renewable energy-powered farm, extensive rainwater harvesting, and a focus on seed sovereignty, TBOF is restoring ecological balance while ensuring ethical, high-quality produce. And today I'm talking to the founder, Satyajit Hange, who will be talking to us about their journey, their challenges, and what has been his learning experience. Hi, Satyajit. Welcome to ET Now Hangouts. It's a pleasure to have you on our show today.
Thank you, Ankita. My pleasure too.
So Satyajit, tell us, you and your brother Ajinkya, both of you were former bankers, which you left to do farming, because usually it's the other way around, right? A farmer's son goes to find a lucrative job, but this was the other way around. What were the initial reactions?
Oh, I think it was surprise. It was, of course, a lot of opposition from my dad. Yeah. He's a farmer, we're a farmer's family, and he had put us in a boarding school at age 3 to ensure that we never come back to the farm and the village. So when we took this decision of coming back, it was shock. It was a lot of opposition, and he's like, y'all have kind of lost it. You know, what you're doing is not the right thing. So,
yeah. But why so? Why did he say that?
I think over the last 50 years, if you see with the way and where farming has headed, it's not been kind of very encouraging. Farming is not economically viable. Farming is not socially respected. A farmer's son will find it difficult to get a bride because he has no status in society today. So over the last 50 years, farming has come to this state. And no farmer's son wants to become a farmer anymore.
Exactly my point, which is why I said you did it the other way around, right? But you said you're a farmer's son and you inherited your traditional farm. Yeah. What was the idea behind turning it into an organic farm? Because now we have a wave of organic food, clean eating. But back in the day when you started out in 2014, it was a very ambitious idea to have.
Yeah, so when we came back to the village and the farm, we realized that the kind of practices that were going on, the contemporary practices, were not really sustainable. Yeah. They had ruined soil fertility by over 50% in the last 50 years since Green Revolution. Monocropping, water holding capacity of farms have gone down. We realized that we are heading towards a point of no return because this is clearly not sustainable. And that, made us look at alternative ways of farming. I would say sustainable ways where I can keep on increasing soil fertility and yet take some produce as a farmer and pass on my farm to the next generation. Yeah. That urge got us to, figuring out sustainable ways of farming, natural farming, and doing this kind of farming.
Right. So Satyajit, tell me, how does a regenerative farm work from farm to fork?
So regenerative is that how much ever you are taking out of the farm in terms of quantity, you are putting more in terms of quantity back in the farm, in the soil. And that is primarily carbon. So what you harvest as produce, you are not burning any waste. You are putting more and more of the farm waste, the twigs, prunings, everything that comes out of the farm except the fruit, back into the soil. You're increasing soil fertility. You're replenishing it with a lot of manure. That is regenerative farming. And it differs drastically from the contemporary farming where a farmer puts in some chemical fertilizers as input, takes out a lot of produce, but does not really look at increasing soil fertility. The kind of farming we do is regenerative organic farming. There's a lot of practices, there's mixed food cropping, there is heirloom variety that we plant and not hybrid variety. And it's grown without any chemical, pesticides, fertilizers and stuff. After the produce is out, we have our own manufacturing mega kitchens, like we call it, which function on the traditional way of processing food. So we make ghee the traditional way by inoculating milk with curds and churning curds to get white butter and then melting it to get ghee. Making jaggery the traditional way instead of making white sugar, which has many chemicals. We make wood pressed oils and so on and so forth. And all this processing is done at a factory which is solar powered and does not use any additive, preservative, binder, filler, essence, color, perfume, Nothing of that sort. It's pure food when you even read the back of the label. And then this is marketed under the brand name to consumers across platforms.
Well, Satyajit, tell me, how challenging has it been for you to market organic food? Because there's an argument that organic food is for the rich because of the price point. What do you have to say to such people?
Now, I would say, people, if you want clean food, you have to pay the right price for good food. And there is nothing as costly and cheap. It's subjective. Today, people are very well aware that, instead of spending at a hospital later on in their lives by, compromising on the food and, how they're treating their body, it's better you start making small investments, eat clean, live a healthy, long life. It makes more sense. And in the pursuit of getting food cheap, you're making the farmer use practices to increase yield that is not natural. And then he has to put a lot of chemical inputs to give you that kind of yield. And you're getting more and more adulterated food with chemicals. So when you pay a farmer who's practicing, I would say, natural farming, organic farming, the right price, and it's making economic sense for him, many more farmers are inspired to get into this kind of farming. And after a time, you'll have a lot of supply, which will rationalize prices.
Right.
So I feel that, and even as a data point, 50% of our consumers come from non-metros. So it's not like only the rich and people in the city are eating this. People are prioritizing health. People are prioritizing what their kids are eating. Today the family size is reduced. People want to give the best to the, one or two children that they have, and they're prioritizing on the food, the quality of food they're feeding children also. So it makes a lot of sense for them now.
Also, the other interesting thing is that you have a very interesting business model. You're vertically integrated, right from the sowing of seed to processing to distribution. All of it happens right under your nose. Yeah. So tell us, how has that helped you achieve economies of scale, reduce your costs and enhance your efficiency?
Initially, it didn't reduce our cost. It added to the cost because doing everything is not very simple. And today's, if you ask any consultant or any business guy, he'll tell you to do one thing, just build a brand and outsource everything else. But since me and Ajinkya started from farming for the first 4-5 years, we farmed ourselves on the farm and then gradually started making products and selling it in farmers' markets. So we were doing practically everything on a limited small scale. So when the business grew, back-end farmer engagement grew, our kitchen spread out to a mega kitchen and now a food factory. At the front, what started off with 2 tables in a farmer's markets, now we have consumers in 60+ countries. Yeah. It grew very gradually. It was not overnight, it was not over the year. It took us 8-10 years to come till here. And we felt it makes a lot of sense doing all 3 aspects because we are trying to redefine the way food is grown on the soil. We're trying to redefine the way it is made into a product. And we're trying to redefine the way by selling it, by developing community. And, we love doing all 3. And fortunately, with the team that we have now, we're managing to do the entire spectrum of work.
So you mentioned, Satyajit, that you're present in 60+ countries and you're primarily a D2C brand and 5% of it is offline. So talk to us about your plans for an offline expansion.
Yeah, so, we were born in the digital age and that's why it was easy to do business online and that's how we grew. And today 95% of our revenue comes online. But going forward, as we kind of see the fact that after a certain revenue, there'll be some resistance online. Then today, 5% of the business comes from offline, from some modern trade stores. But over the next 1.5-2 years, we plan to go the general trade route and the modern trade route a bit more aggressively.
Okay, so what are your expansion plans? What are your fundraising plans? But firstly, talk to us about your expansion plans. What is in store for Two Brothers?
So today we work with over 5,000 farmers at the back end. The idea is how can I help over 50,000 farmers transition to this kind of farming, sustainable farming. And I serve over 3 to 4 lakh consumers at the front end. How can I service over 50 lakh consumers at the front end? The plan for the next year at least is to go in the international markets more aggressively. Today 20% of my revenue comes from international. I want to get it to over 30% because I feel that the demand for such kind of food is very strong out there. And the resistance is pretty low. The affordability is high. So we already opened up a company in the US. We're planning to open up a company in the Middle East now and explore international markets and also invest a lot in research and development, both on the farm and in the manufacturing side, and have state-of-the-art laboratories to ensure we get the best quality both, while checking stuff that comes into our as raw material and the stuff that goes out as finished goods.
Right. So for all that expansion, Satyajit, you will require funds, right? So what are your plans for fundraising, and how soon are you planning to raise funds? How do you plan to go about that?
So we raised our Series A in August last year, and we have grown 4x since then. And the plan is to now raise 100 crores. And we are talking to a lot of early PE, late VC funds who are interested. And I think soon we'll announce closure in a week or 2 weeks' time.
Right. Also, Satyajit, talk to us about your growth. How have you been growing? Because the pandemic was a big fillip to organic and clean eating. So since then, from COVID times to now, and before that, how has your growth trajectory been like?
So on an average, we have grown over 85% year on year since the last 5 years. Even pre-pandemic, we were doing decent business and the brand had good traction. But post-pandemic, I think the awareness is now everywhere and everyone is looking out for good food, trustworthy brands to spend and to rely on for the good food. So I think, we have used social media extensively, both Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, to create awareness and content, and had many people come out to the farm to see, firsthand how food is grown. All this has contributed to a very good traction on our website. And like I said, we have grown over 85% year on year in the last 5 years.
Right. Satyajit, also talk to us about your marketing, because you said that you didn't market much earlier on. It's now that you have really started picking up. What are your marketing plans going ahead? Do you plan to market more now? You're saying that there's already awareness, but anything on the marketing front that you are hoping to do?
Yeah, so when we started, there was a strong word of mouth that helped us. Even today, our global expansion happens primarily word of mouth in the US. But we have figured out that we need to do some activations, more from the community development angle, more from the awareness of clean food and why people should switch over to clean food angle. Not large spends on the brand side and stuff, but small controlled experiments that work with community, with chefs, with restaurants who spread I would say, the cult of eating clean with native ingredients. Apart from that, many other community-based interactions and activations that will plan in the coming year.
Right. So Satyajit, what I see is that you're building an entire brand story around the brand, instead of just saying, "Oh, buy this. This is good." Right. So that really helps build a brand better. What difference have you seen on brand building through this approach?
I think the brand is our story that we live in reality. Before you call me, yesterday I was on the farm and tomorrow I'll be on the farm back. So it's a story that we live, and it's a life that we believe in. These are products that came out of my mother's kitchen and my grandmother's kitchen. So it's very easy for me to just say what we do at the back end. And fortunately, that's what people connect with, and that's become the brand story. So, traditional, sustainable, clean label. And we always say, farmers by choice. So today, farming as a profession is something that even a farmer's son, like I said, doesn't want to become a farmer. But we have become farmers by choice. Having the choice of working anywhere across the world, we chose farming. So I think all of that as a personal story reflects when a consumer consumes the product and consumes the brand, and that's become the brand.
Right. Very interesting, Satyajit. In fact, tell us what have been your learnings, what have been your challenges as a startup founder, through which, many startup founders who are watching this can take and learn a lot from. What would be your advice to a young startup founder?
So I believe in, what where your conviction lies. If I had asked somebody 10 years back when I started the brand and the business, no one would have advised me to come in this sector, because the TAM is low and the SAM is low, and all of this is not present according to some people. But it was a kind of, I would say, a movement that we ran at the back end. We were concerned about the soil, its fertility as farmers, and we were concerned about the products that we were making, as a brand and feeding consumers. We wanted both to be clean and both to be sustainable. And that conviction led to creating the business, and that's panned out today. So I would tell founders, believe in what conviction, where your personal conviction lies. Everybody gets different personal feedbacks in their life, and if you feel that there is something that you would love doing, there are a million people who feel similar to you who will become your consumers. So follow that, do something you love, and if it's driven by passion, it's no more boring. You get the energy to drive yourself through all the hurdles and the challenges.
Absolutely, Satyajit. But finally, I want to talk to you about the hurdles and challenges. Now, while you have come up with an organic brand, there has been a wave of organic and clean eating since COVID happened. So there are a lot of organic names that have cropped up since COVID, Indian homegrown brands. How do you see that as a competition? Do you see that will just grow the market for organic food?
Why? And I'm welcoming all these brands and all these. Some of them are doing it the wrong way, but I think they'll get it right with time. But more and more people who come and spread awareness, get capital, develop talent, and handhold farmers at the back end. I think it's a business that does good at both the ends. At the farmer end, you're doing good to the environment, you're doing good social impact to farmer community, and at the front end, you are helping people eat clean and stay, free from any disease. So the more the merry. I think this has a large scope for many other brands to come that are driven, like I said, in the right way and not just riding the wave because there is increased awareness. But yeah, we're happy that people and brands are coming into the space.
Satyajit, you spoke about your presence in the international market. Firstly, tell us how well have you been received in the international market? What is that? What is driving the growth in the overseas market for you?
So I think it was 5 years back when somebody ordered the ghee, and it took us 8 months to just do the licensing for sending it across to him. But that opened up the possibility of couriering orders and sending it to consumers abroad. And since then, word of mouth spread. I think people out there kind of like the quality and the produce that's made in India because all these products have a very strong tradition. And over the last 5 years, we've had over now, I think, 40,000 consumers in the US, a very strong community. We travel there often and meet up with people, and now I've started collaborating with restaurant and chefs in the US also. And, apart from the website business, also planning to, have the products offline in some of the stores out there.
Right. Also talk to us about your product inspiration or product innovation. What goes behind that? Because you have a very diverse portfolio of products, like you mentioned, ghee and a peanut butter. Very few companies are doing that. Where does that come from?
So I think, in short, the kind of farming we do is inspired by the way my grandfather did farming, without chemical inputs, regenerative and sustainable. And the kind of products we sell and we make are products that are inspired by my grandmother, range of pickles and ghee made the traditional way and jaggery and wood pressed oils. These are all products that have been eaten in India since time immemorial. They have a history of more than 1,000 years. They do not require any preservatives or cold storage to, keep them for over a year. And they are nutritionally very rich. They do not have any chemicals and stuff. So I just took that and kind of did a cosmopolitan packaging, conventional branding and marketing, and that's the product range.
Right. Also talk to us about, there's something that I read about a brand that is you're trying to increase the shelf life of the product, right? And that's going to be a major USP for your brand. How do you do that without the use of preservative, because it's an organic brand?
Yeah. So like I said, all the products that if you just dip down and see, like ghee is the traditional way of preserving the goodness of milk or the nutrition of milk for over a year. Once you make the final form ghee, it can be kept for a year. Jaggery is the way of preserving the nutrition of sugarcane for over a year. Once you make jaggery in the final form and keep it in a cool, dry place, it will last for a year. Oil is the way of preserving the nutrition of those oil seeds for over a year. So they do not require any preservatives. And we do not make products that require a lot of preservatives and stabilizers and stuff. So that's the philosophy.
Absolutely, Satyajit. Thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us. It was a very insightful conversation. But thank you so much for joining us on Hangouts.
Thank you, Ankita. My pleasure too.